morning, good afternoon, everyone. So you are very welcome to our today's event on the legal regime of the defense city in Ukraine. The event is hosted by the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I am Alessa Pavlinska, I'm the head of the legal committee, and today the legal committee of the German-Ukrainian Chamber is organizing the event devoted to the topic of defense city in Ukraine. I am now physically here in Germany, in Frankfurt am Main. Though before the war started, I had been working and living in Kiev, working for the leading law firm, now being with Hogan Lovells, an international law firm. So we, as legal committee, we gather every month. We have our meetings, and you're welcome, everybody who is interested in legal issues. You're welcome to join our committee. So if you're interested, just send the email to the coordinator, Yuri Gladun, to the German-Ukrainian Chamber, AHK Ukraine. If you're an employee or you're working for the member of the chamber, of course, you're free to attend our meetings. And if you're not a member, a company is still not a member, please join the chamber. So we will start. Well, actually, frankly speaking, I wish we never had to host an event like this, one born out of war and destruction in Ukraine. But under the circumstances, it is our responsibility to come together now to share expertise and build the foundations for a better and secure future for us. So this gathering comes at a time of deepening cooperation between Germany and Ukraine, exactly in the defense sector. If you follow the news, you have seen that the German Federal Minister of Economic Affairs and Energy, Katarina Reiche, visited Ukraine on the 24th of October, the delegation of German defense and energy companies. And well, I like the subtitle of the article in Handelsblatt. In German, it's Die Ukraine wandelt sich vom Bittsteller zum Partner, to be translated like Ukraine is now changing from the beggar for the support to a reliable partner. And this is indeed so. So her visit highlighted this growing interest from German companies, German defense companies, in establishing operations in Ukraine, including maintenance hubs and joint production facilities. And of course, we have heard about such names as Rheinmetall, that founded a joint venture with the Ukrainian state enterprise, Ukraine Defense Industry, KNDS, Deal Defense, Hensoldt, and also startups like Helsing Quantum Systems, Titan. Some of them are already members of the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. And we are proud that German companies are interested in Ukraine and the Ukrainian market. So sure, the interest is there. And while one of the most interesting events was also the recent event of BDLI, it's the German Association of German Aerospace Industries. This took place last week. And there also Ukraine's integration into the European defense community was a central topic. So the event also emphasized joint procurement, industrial partnerships, and the strategic role of Ukraine as a future hub for defense companies. I think that our audience is prepared, so you already understand what are the advantages of starting a defense business in Ukraine. Ukraine offers now a unique environment where innovations can be rapidly tested and adapted under real-world conditions. Unlike in Germany, where extensive permits and regulatory procedures are required, Ukraine's wartime context allows for faster solutions and field deployment. And of course, the dynamic nature of war demands constant innovation, making it easier for companies to develop and refine new technologies in close collaboration with the end users on site. This creates a highly responsive environment for defense innovation, and therefore German firms are now actively exploring various opportunities, and in particular now opportunities to be the resident, the member of the defense city. It's a new planned industrial and technological cluster. It's not a separate building or a separate city, but it's a legal regime where the companies, the residents of a defense city have certain privileges, certain advantages. So we will talk about this topic today. We have seen the interest among the members of the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce. and therefore just had this idea to organize this webinar today. So the question is, will Ukraine become the defense El Dorado, or defense Silicon Valley? Now we will answer these questions. So hopefully I am honored to moderate this dialogue between legal experts and industry leaders. I hope we will get questions from the audience and we'll explore how Defense City can become a connection between German and Ukraine, a cornerstone of German-Ukrainian partnership. A couple of technical and organizational issues. We will have 5 speakers. I think that the short reports, will take 1 hour, 1 hour and 15 minutes. And if you have questions to the speakers, please write them in the chat. And after the end of the 5th report, 5th presentation, we will ask the questions to the speakers. So we will have a brief overview. We will have 5 lawyers who will discuss various topics of this new legal regime, Defense City. I will briefly summarize all topics. The first one is who is eligible for Defense City residence and statutory requirements. Denise Ersoy, a managing associate from the law firm Atzinger, will report. The next topic is tax benefits for Defense City residents. Victoria Fomenko, partner of the law firm Integrities from the tax and customs practice, will speak on this topic. The third topic is customs benefits and supply chain specifics. We will have Pavlo Gerasimuk from PwC, the manager from Customs and International Trade Department. The fourth topic is export control, the benefits for Defense City residents. Taras Kisley from the law firm Atzinger, the partner, will also share his views. And the fifth topic is just to summarize our discussion. Valeria Tarasenko, tax advisor of the law firm Dentons, will report on advantages and disadvantages of this legal regime for a foreign investor, also practical perspectives. So this is all from my side. I think we are ready to start with the first presentation. And I should also tell you that this event will be recorded. If you need to get the recording of the presentations, please write to the committee coordinator, Yuri Gladun, and the chamber will send you the presentations.
Alice, I guess we may start, yeah?
Yes, Denise, you're welcome. The floor is yours. So the first topic is what is Defense City regime and how is it different from previous initiatives?
Yeah, thank you for introduction. As it was said, I will cover only the general issues regarding the Defense City and the eligibility criteria. So I'd like to start from the key dates. What you should know is that there are 2 laws addressing Defense City regime. As of now, these laws are fully operative. However, the government have not issued and adopted the relevant detailed regulations yet, which means that right now you or any company that would like to hold the Defense City status is not able to file the application. So in this week, there is a deadline for the government to approve and promulgate these regulations. And after that, only the companies may file the applications with the regulator. Before we consider the criteria for Defense City regime, I'd like to address the key issues. Yeah. So, what is Defense City? It's a special legal regime designed for defense industry, granting certain.
Denise, sorry to interrupt you. Are you sharing the presentation?
Yeah. Let me check it.
I think not. I can't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
So, Defense City special regime for defense industry, granting certain tax, legal benefits, simplification of export control, etc. Is it a mandatory registration procedure for defense industry in Ukraine? So the answer is no. Registration as a defense city resident is absolutely voluntary procedure. The next one, is this regime limited in time? So the answer is yes. And the defense city regime will be active only until January 1st, 2036, though certain tax benefits may be cancelled even earlier if Ukraine joins the EU, European Union, before 2036. Who is the regulator? It is a Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, so the main body that will consider applications for the defense city regime and will decide whether the company complies with all statutory requirement. And the last but not least are the any statutory criteria requirements. So the answer is evident yes. And importantly, to claim certain tax benefits, the business must comply with additional requirements, which I guess my colleagues will address later. So let's proceed with eligibility criteria. So who can apply the application and successfully receive the defense city status? We deliberately, so first of all, defense city residents must simultaneously meet certain criteria. And we deliberately divided these criteria into three groups: registration criteria, good standing criteria, and industrial criteria. And let's deconstruct one by one. So, registration criteria. First, only Ukrainian legal entities may become the defense city residents, which means that Ukrainian private entrepreneurs, sole proprietors, so-called FOPs, foreign-based entities, and the Ukrainian branches cannot become the defense city residents. Having said that, the foreign business that would like to doing business in Ukraine, but would like still apply for the defense city, can establish the local subsidiary, and this local subsidiary can apply for the defense city regime. Second, it's Ukrainian address, which means that the business must not have registration or have business activity in temporary occupied territory. The third one, the business must get registered as Ukrainian corporate income taxpayer, which means that those businesses that enjoy and pay privilege flat tax, 3 or 5%, are out of scope of this regime. And the last, no, the business must not hold the status of non-profit organization, something like charity, NGO, etc. Next one is good standing criteria. So the business must have no tax debts exceeding 10 minimum wages, which is 2,000 US dollars for 2025. The business must have properly disclosed information about ultimate beneficial ownership structure, which is as more or less standard procedure and in line with AML regulations in Ukraine. The business must not be sanctioned by Ukrainian or international sanctions, and the shareholders and UBOs should be out of scope of sanctions as well. No bankruptcy, insolvency, or dissolution must be initiated against this business, and the business must have no direct or indirect shareholders and UBOs, evidence of control from Russia, North Korea, and Iran. So, as you can see, these two groups establish a relatively low entry threshold. So almost each Ukrainian business, given these particular two groups of criteria, can successfully apply for the defense city residence regime. As for the last group, industrial criteria. So if the first one, if the business made governmental contracts for the procurement of defense and it breached these contracts, means that businesses supplied certain arms, ammunition to the army or to the state, and this business violated the conditions of the contract, its obligations, which resulted in terminations of the contract, imposition of fine, compensation of damages, as confirmed by the court decision. These particular businesses may not apply for the defense city regime. So the business must demonstrate compliance with the past contractual obligations with the government. And then the last one, and the most crucial criterion, is that companies' qualified income, we'll discuss later what is qualified income, for the previous year must be minimum 75% of the company's total income, but 50% for the aircraft industry. Now let's discuss the qualified income. So what is qualified income for the business that would like to apply for the defense city regime? So the qualified income means income from sales supply of self-manufactured defense goods, so the manufacturers, provision of services related to the development, manufacture, repair, modernization, disposal of defense goods, research and development, support in the defense industry. The third one is donations, income as donations in cash received and used for the production and supply of defense goods. So this provision addresses a situation when the business received some donations from charities, from individuals, and then used these funds to produce and supply the defense goods. Ammunitions, we'll discuss what is defense goods later. And the last one is qualified income of subcontractor, which means in the situations when there was a supplier under the government contract for the defense procurement. And this business was intermediate between the actual supplier and the manufacturer. So defense, what is defense goods? For the defense city purposes, defense goods means any arms, military and special purpose equipment, such as unmanned systems, drones, electronic warfare intelligence equipment, and active countermeasures against technical and reconnaissance. And the last one, weapons and ammunitions. If the company sees that it can apply for the defense city regime, so let's consider what is the standard application roadmap. So the step one is application files. The company gathers the application package. The law provides for the list of documents that should be submitted to the Ministry of Defense. Then Ministry of Defense must review this application package. Importantly, the regulations are still to be adopted by the government. So we are waiting for the additional layer of provisions and clauses that will address this application and review processes. The Ministry of Defense will have 10 business days to consider the applications and make the relevant decision whether the company is approved or not approved for the defense city regime. And finally, if the application package is approved, the Ministry of Defense must issue the relevant decision and update the defense city register. So the company will be included in the special list of companies, and which will be the evidence of the defense city residence. This is more or less a standard application track. Of course, there can be some other situations. For instance, the application package is not full. In this case, the Ministry of Defense will be entitled to reach out to the applicant and ask for clarifications. But for the sake of time and for the convenience, we consider only this standard application track. So, statutory requirements for the defense city residence. If the company obtains this defense city residence status, what the company must do to be fully compliant with this special regime? First of all, the defense city residence must, throughout the entire period of residence, comply with the criteria of the defense city regime. It's a crucial thing, which means that the company must comply with the criteria that were relevant at the early stage of its registration process throughout the entire period of residence. The second one is that the company, as a defense city resident, must submit to the Ministry of Defense annually a certain package of documents. First, Defense City Residence Compliance Report, auditor's report on the verification of the compliance report, financial statements, and other documents that must be determined by the government. These documents, in general, must evidence that the company is compliant with the defense city criteria that we discussed earlier for each particular year. If the company fails to comply, the circumstances are quite evident. It's withdrawal of defense city resident status. Key takeaways after our discussion of the main issues and eligibility criteria for the defense city regime. So, to sum up, defense city is a voluntary legal tax and legal scheme for the defense industry, local defense industry. It establishes and provides for relatively low entry threshold, relatively low. So almost each Ukrainian business involved in the defense city can become a DSC, a defense city residence, provided that it has the qualified amount of income. Ministry of Defense will be a key body that will review the applications and consider whether the company complies with the defense city requirements. Applicants must demonstrate active sales in defense for the last year. So, which means that the company must, before filing the applications for the defense city, must already demonstrate that it had made contracts with the government on the supply of ammunition, arms to the state, governmental bodies, or the army. Post-application compliance, so the defense city residents will be obligated to monitor and submit certain documents annually to demonstrate that they comply with the defense city criteria. And we are still waiting for the regulations which are to be adopted by the government, and after that, the companies may initiate the application process. So that's all from my side.
Thank you, Denis. I have a couple of questions, if I may.
Yeah.
Can you come back to the previous slide? I see here that, from the practical perspective, a newly established company cannot be a resident of the DSCT. So just as an example, a German investor would like to establish a subsidiary either with a joint venture partner or just a 100% subsidiary. There is no qualified income for the previous years, obviously. Is it possible for such company to have to enjoy the same benefits?
Unfortunately, no, as the law is quite strict and provides for that the applicant must demonstrate active sales and qualified income for the last calendar year, which means if there is a newly established company, it will not be able to demonstrate this active business for the last year. So it will be an issue for the a newly established subsidiary.
So even the fact, for example, if the mother company before establishing the subsidiary already had some contracts, governmental contracts with Ukraine, delivered goods, delivered some ammunition, it can anyway not be a member. Yeah. So this is
As I read the law,
not
no,
qualified.
because only the applicant must demonstrate, not the parent company or affiliates.
Okay, that's clear. And also another question, I think that also Victoria will talk about this in more detail, but just to start, a defense city is actually not a new notion. Previously, before the full-scale invasion, we also had a very successful example of DS city, so the regime for the high-tech companies, IT companies. So I can imagine now that such companies who are active in both fields, high-tech, MilTech, so they will now have to choose. So are there any major differences between these regimes?
So technically, the company may be simultaneously a defense city and DS city resident. But the issue is, in this particular case, the company will lose its right for the tax benefits, which is in this case, it will be nonsense to structure in that way, being simultaneously defense city and DE city, because this step will deprive the company from the benefits which the company generally rely on applying for these regimes. But it's true that also that a lot of companies involved in military and defense industries, they have already structured through the DS city, not the defense city. And once this regime becomes fully operative, I think it will be prudent for the businesses to consider whether they should live as DS city regimes or, for instance, mix. Establish two companies. One of them will be as a DS city, and another one will be as a defense city. So there are various of options how the operations can be structured, and the company, in some cases, the company will need to even to decide whether they want to be or remain as DS city or transfer to the defense city regime.
Yeah, so I can imagine that some companies could qualify for both regimes, high tech and military. Okay.
Absolutely. Not in all cases, but I can imagine that it's possible. But still, it's not an option when the company can simultaneously be a defense and DACD regimes. It's possible from the legal perspective, but it's not recommended from the practical perspective.
Thank you, Denise. So now I think we will hear more from Victoria Fomenko. Now we have the tax part, and she will also provide us with some comparisons and advantages and disadvantages of the defense city regime. Victoria, you're welcome. So Victoria Fomenko, partner of tax and customs practice from the law firm Integrities. The floor is yours.
Hello. Do you see my slides?
Yeah,
Mhm.
we can hear you.
Okay, let's start. My topic is tax benefits for defense city residents. Just a second. Okay. As Denise mentioned, defense city residents will enjoy tax benefits until 1st of January 2036. However, if Ukraine joins the European Union, then the tax benefits provided under the defense city regime will be terminated earlier. So which tax benefits does the new law provide for? This is corporate income tax benefits, land tax benefits, real estate tax benefits, and environmental tax benefits. Let's talk in more detail about the benefits. So there is a conditional exemption from taxation of profits by the corporate income tax. Why the benefit is conditional? Because there are certain eligibility criteria which need to be fulfilled by the resident of defense city to enjoy these tax benefits. So first, the taxpayer needs to be resident of defense city. The previous speaker talked about the criteria how and the process how to become resident of defense city. To enjoy tax benefit, the taxpayer shall not be a resident of DS city. The next criteria is that taxpayer shall not pay dividends, so shall not accrue and actually pay the dividends. And this criteria has only one exception: if the payment of dividends is designated to the state budget by the state-owned entities. Also, the taxpayer shall not violate transfer pricing and controlled foreign companies rules and reporting. And in order to enjoy the benefits, the taxpayer needs to submit an application for the exemption. So, becoming a resident of defense city does not automatically mean that such resident of defense city will enjoy tax benefits. So, they are conditional. The exemption is also conditional because the exempt profits must be reinvested in the defense industry. So all the profits which were exempt from the corporate income tax shall be reinvested within the next reporting or the next calendar year after the end of the reporting year, and so it shall be reinvested as follows: for the creation or re-equipment of material and technical facilities, for creation, acquisition, modernization, restoration, repair, re-equipment of fixed assets, including the construction of production and technological facilities, for improvement of technological and production processes, for implementation of advanced technologies, for acquisition of intellectual property rights for the purpose of performance of a state defense procurement contracts, for expenses for research, production of new models of weapons and military equipment or their components, for acquisition of shares in enterprises of the defense industry, provided that the issue of the corporate rights does not accrue or pay dividends or equivalent payments to any of the owners of the shares during the period in which the defense city resident applies the corporate income tax exemption. So from the list of the designated activities for which the profits shall be reinvested, we see that in any case, these profits can be distributed to its shareholders. As I already mentioned, the exempt profit must be reinvested by 31st of December of the following year. Otherwise, it becomes taxable. Also, residents of defense city who enjoy tax benefits, they remain subject to transfer pricing rules and CFC taxation. Which means that all the transactions with related entities or with low tax jurisdictions, as well as if the resident of the defense city has foreign subsidiary and CFC rules applies to the resident of the defense city, all these rules shall be observed, and not only in terms of the reporting, which is a key here, but also there are certain rules regarding transfer pricing about which we talk over this slide. So the exemption is granted to the profits apart from the situation when, according to the transfer pricing rules, there is a profit which will be then taxed with the corporate income tax at 18% for the excess amount of the arm's length price over the contractual value of goods, works, or services supplied, or the excess of the contractual value of goods, works, services acquired over the arm's length price. These rules do not apply in case controlled transactions are made with the supplier who is an exclusive producer, including where such producer constitutes a natural monopoly. The burden of proof in this case stays with the taxpayer, so the taxpayer needs to prove this criteria, and only in that case an exception applies. And also the exception does not apply to transactions between related parties. The next tax benefit is land tax. So the benefit is an exemption from land tax on land plots used for production activities or temporarily unused during relocation. Eligibility conditions are mostly the same, which applies to corporate income tax exemption. The taxpayer need to be resident of defense city and not be a resident of DS city. The real estate tax benefit is an exemption from real estate tax for facilities in the relocation area used in residence activities or housing for employees. And it applies for industrial warehouse buildings classified under the specific code unused during relocation. The eligibility conditions are also same, so the taxpayer need to be resident of defense city and not to be a resident of DS city. Exemption from environmental tax for again residents of DS city and who are not residents of DS city. In case, I want to also stop a bit on consequences when the defense city residency is lost. What will be with the tax benefits? There are two possible outcomes. The first one is voluntarily termination. This can be in two cases. So it can be termination of the defense city residency and termination of usage of tax benefits under the defense city regime. And the other option is mandatory termination. So when the taxpayer or the resident of defense city violated the criteria, and the decision on termination of the defense city residency was issued. So in both cases, the consequences in terms of taxes are a bit different. So when there is a voluntary termination, the taxpayer start paying corporate income tax from the period when such termination happens. And additionally, the taxpayer needs to pay corporate income tax on the portion of the profits which were not used for the designated purpose until the period when such termination happened. Whereas in case of mandatory termination, the taxpayer may occur in a situation when the payment of taxes need to be backdated. So from the period in which the violation happened, the taxpayer may be obliged to pay taxes, including penalties. And in this case, there is no restriction by statute of limitations. So statute of limitations do not apply in such case. And last but not least, as mentioned by the previous speaker, the possibility of simultaneously being a resident of DS city and defense city restrict the taxpayer from enjoying tax benefits. In particular, such taxpayer cannot be exempt from payment of corporate income tax, land tax, real estate tax, and environmental tax as provided by defense city regime, and cannot apply 5% personal income tax rate for employees or gig contractors under the DS city regime. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Victoria. I think that, yes, you had such a detailed presentation. I have one question, maybe a couple of questions. You have actually reported, we have discussed the cases when the resident of defense city must pay corporate income tax. The question is, if this exempt profit is not reinvested during the following year, is there any liability? So does this lead to automatic expulsion, or, well, so the company will lose the status of the resident?
No, not in fact, the taxpayer will lose its status. It just such taxpayer just needs to pay corporate income tax on the profit which was not reinvested for the designated purpose. And also this applies in case the portion of the profit was not used. So the profit was reinvested but not in full. Then the portion which was not reinvested will be subject to corporate income tax.
The next question is regarding the personal income tax. As we know, in the DS city regime, so this is very advantageous for a lot of companies, because the private contractors, employees of IT companies, they're private contractors and they have separate gig contractors, contracts. So there are a lot of tax benefits also for the personal income tax. Are there any benefits in this case, so taxation of salaries in the defense city, or not?
Unfortunately not. The defense city regime does not provide any tax benefits for taxation of salaries or alike income of the employees or contractors.
Okay. So anyway, any company should just choose and receive comprehensive information to be able to choose also tax. Taxation is actually one of the most important reasons. Okay, thank you, Victoria. Our next speaker will talk about customs benefits and supply chain specifics. Pavlo Hirozomyuk from PwC.
Colleagues.
You're welcome. And so, what are the main approaches to provide activity of manufacturing of military goods in Ukraine?
Thank you, Lisa, for your question. So before we will talk on the benefits that are granted to defense city residents, I want just to mention that there are two standard approaches to start to develop, to provide manufacturing activity in Ukraine for Ukrainian companies. They are just to import, spare parts, for example, or just some components, and to provide the manufacturing activity. Or at the same time, another way is to apply for the special customs procedure named as inward processing customs regime. So they have benefits and disadvantages, and is the choice of each company what way to move forward and what model of activity just also to choose. So from this point of view, today we will talk on just defense city residence benefits. They are connected to the mostly to the invert processing customs regime. So, but let us keep in mind that there are two main options here to manufacture in Ukraine the military goods. Let me remind one more time. To just use the simplest way, yeah, for example, to import the spare parts components into customs territory Ukraine. So, in other words, to place it under free circulations procedure, yeah. And on the other hand, is to choose this invert processing customs regime. We will talk in details a little bit later on it, yeah. So maybe I will share my presentation, or you will have
Yes, please.
some more questions. Just a moment, please.
Yeah, we can see it.
Thank you. Thank you. Colleagues, today we will talk about the customs benefits, yeah, about your customs opportunities from the point of a defense city residence, yeah. So to start with, first of all, as I mentioned, the new provisions of customs law, they regulate mostly the approach that is connected to the obtaining of customs regime authorizations. These customs regimes are, temporary import, inward processing, outward processing, and so-called import in part of the procedure for final use of goods and components on the customs territory of Ukraine. But the last one is not used by companies because special provisions of customs law are not developed yet. So from the point of obtaining customs authorizations for customs regime, new exemptions for residents of defense city were developed in the customs code. So among them, the simplified assessment of compliance. So as you know, in April of the current year, new provisions were implemented in the customs code, and all the customs regimes I've mentioned, they to obtain the authorization for this customs regime, each company must comply with the special requirements that were implemented. But at the same time, for the residents of defense city, this assessment will be provided by customs authority as a remote documentary verification, instead of the on-site inspections. So from this point of view, it is a simplification, it is an exemption from the general way to provide this assessment. Also, we are waiting for the development of special procedure to transfer rights and obligations within mentioned customs authorizations. So what I mean, generally, when the company is applying for the customs authorization to for placing goods under specific customs regime, such company must also submit a special application to the customs authority on their intention to transfer some of their rights or some of their obligations within such an authorization. So, this is the onlyest way to do that, because the possibility to apply for the authorization for placing goods under the customs regime according to the customs declaration as a simplified procedure is impossible in this way. Yeah. So the option to transfer your rights or obligations within the authorization can be made just under the simple application with the full assessment, with the full procedure, and so on and so forth. At the same time, for the residents of defense city, the new way, the simplified way, is expected to be developed and documented here in the special law, customs law. So moving forward, I will just look in the glance because my colleagues will tell you in more details on the export controls rules and so on and so forth. Just I want to mention that there are also some exemptions in this field. And some exemptions, some special rules in the field of the currency control supervision are also expected to be developed by the National Bank of Ukraine. So we will also discuss other specifics of obtaining the authorizations. So let me remind, so in any case, any company can temporarily import some goods in Ukraine, for example, for testing, or in other case, companies can apply for the inward processing customs regime to manufacture just goods into the customs territory of Ukraine. For example, at the same time, in case a company is using some foreign equipment and there is a need to repair it, for example, also abroad, in such a way, a company can apply for the authorization for a specific customs regime called outward processing. Yeah, and all these actions need some specific steps from the companies to obtain specific customs authorizations for placing such goods under the specific customs procedure. So generally speaking, the simplest way to place goods under the specific customs regime is to apply for a authorization with the customs declaration. It's the simplest way, and from the point also of the time frames and so on and so forth, because at the same time, generally, manufacturers will apply for this authorization with an application that in some cases is too complicated. So from the point of residents of their city, they are able to use these customs declarations, and that's all. So there is no need to apply with a special application that is filled with much information on the details of the operations and so on and so forth, just to submit a specific customs declaration, maybe also to indicate in the specifics columns on this declaration some information. That's all. At the same time, the non-residents of defense city can apply. Sorry, can you hear me? Colleagues, can you hear me?
Yes. But we
Thank
had
you, sorry.
some interruptions because of the poor connection.
At the same time, all the non-residents of defense city can apply for the authorization for specific customs regime with the customs declarations just only up to 180 days. At the same time, residents of defense city will have some kind of exemption, and the validity period of such an authorization will last equally to the validity period of customs regime. For example, if we're talking about the inward processing customs regime, non-residents can apply for 180 days. So residents of defense city will be able to apply for 1 year. Yeah, 1 year authorization, generally speaking. Also, from the point of safety measures, there is also an exemption for the residents of defense city. What is this exemption? This exemption from providing information on the location of goods and the places where accounting documents, other transport, commercial documents are stored. So from this point of view, there will be no need to indicate such an information in specific letters that will be submitted together with the customs declaration in specific reports, for example, during some period of time within the validity period of the inward processing customs regime authorization, and so on. Also, I just want to indicate and then to pass the floor to the next speaker on the export control. I just want to indicate that customs classification of goods for customs purposes is not the same that identification of military or dual use goods. So there are specific lists of such goods, and when we determine the classification code, we will not understand whether our goods are subject to the special export control provisions. So from this point of view, you are to be accurate in determination of your as well classification code, as well as identification according to the specific lists of dual use and military goods. So even you will fill your customs declaration with some general naming, it will not secure your company from the obligation to pass through the export control supervision, and so on and so forth. So when we are preparing to the customs clearance, we need to identify all our spare parts, all our components from the point of the export control rules. We need to understand whether our spare parts and components are subject or non-subject to these provisions, and then indicate clearly all this information in our customs declaration call, because our customs declarations, in other words, is that it will be an application for obtaining a special authorization to place our goods under the provisions of specific customs regimes. So maybe this is all from my part. I will not stop on the issues of export control, because the next speaker will cover all these questions. Let's
Thank you,
maybe
Pavlo.
there is some
And
questions.
yeah, thank you. I would also like to underline again, repeat again that if our audience, if our participants today have any questions to the speakers, please feel free to write them in the chat. We will answer them at the end of our today's session.
Maybe 1 minute to sum up. So, colleagues, two main approaches to start activity or to provide manufacturing activity in Ukraine. Yeah. First of all, you may import components, spare parts into the customs territory of Ukraine and then provide your manufacturing activity. Or at the same time, on the other hand, yeah, you may apply for a special customs regime for the authorization for this regime, so-called inward processing customs regime. In this way, you will also import your component and spare parts with full relief from customs payments and from non-tariff barriers. Yeah. And then you will import the manufactured finished product, yeah, into the customs territory again from this part. The choice is up to you because there are some benefits and disadvantages for each of these approaches, but at the same time, for the residents of defense city, there are numerous simplifications in the field of obtaining the authorizations for the specific customs regime, including inward processing customs regime. So, thank you.
Thank you, Pavlo. So we have already mentioned that actual defense is very regulated in Ukraine as anywhere in the world, though under the circumstances, a lot of processes have been simplified in Ukraine to find a quick answer. And now I'm ready to invite Taras. Taras will speak on the export control in Ukraine. Maybe most of you should know that in Ukraine we had very strict, and we still have very strict export control restrictions. But if you follow the news, now the government has announced some simplifications. And well, Taras, you're welcome now to speak on this topic. Does the defense city resident will have any real export control preferences compared to a regular exporter?
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, colleagues. Yes, it is a very hot topic in Ukraine, and in terms of export control, we are living in times of constant rumors and constant developments. Addressing your question, so on paper, yes, there are some benefits. In practice, I would say there are no benefits. So to start with, and elaborating on what already Pavlo mentioned, let's start with the definition of the export control. So, the export control is not an invention of Ukraine. It is the common system of securing transfer of military and dual-use goods through the country borders. And having spent a lot of time with export control topic, I can assure you that our export control rules are almost identical to those used in the EU and in practically in Germany as well. For now, the procedure looks like a 4 stages. Let me switch to my first slide. On the left, you can see the regular procedure for export control of military goods, and on the right, it is what were the changes applicable for defense city residents. Let me take you briefly through these steps. If you are going to export something from Ukraine, In terms of military goods, the first step that you should follow, you should establish your internal unit for export control. It is kind of a formal step at the first sight, but if you check with the legal framework, there are rather strict rules on how you should make this internal unit. What are the requirements for the personnel involved, and what are the internal documents should be issued in this regard. So it's a I would say kind of sophisticated procedure, and you should follow step by step as it is written in the bylaws of the export control authority. After that, you should certificate this internal unit with the Export Control Authority. Then, after that, you should apply for certificate of exporter of military goods. Again, once you pass this stage, you should apply for authorization by the Cabinet of Ministers, and as the last stage, you should apply for this final permit for export, which Pavlo also mentioned. There are like several types depending on what are your plans for the exports. As you can see, for defense city residents, there is a benefit. They are not anymore required to go through authorization by the Cabinet of Ministers. So, at a first glance, it sounds like a huge step forward. Because in practice, this authorization by the Cabinet of Ministers, it is quite complicated to obtain logistically, let's say so, because this step involves scrutiny of the package of documents by the Export Authority, by the Ministry of Internal Affairs, by the Security Service of Ukraine, by the Ministry of Defense. Once they are fine with these documents, with the application for exports, they are drafting order for the Cabinet of Ministers to approve this export. They file it to the Cabinet of Ministers. The Cabinet of Ministers gathers for this particular issue. Then it evaluates the draft order and evaluates the papers, and after that, the Cabinet of Ministers issues authorization. So in practice, it was rather difficult before the full-scale war started. And once this is removed for defense city residents, it looks like a very good development, which provides real benefits for the exports. But let's get back to the reality. As you may have heard, the export of military and dual-use goods, it practically stopped since 2022, and no one manages to get any final permit for export. So you can still establish your internal unit. You can file for a certification of this unit and get certificate of exporter. But further steps, they are like on a political level, they are banned for any exports. For now, in practice, only like old contracts by the state manufacturers and suppliers, which were signed before the full-scale invasion, only under those contracts, like some minor supplies are still allowed, and these are about only those units which are not required for the ongoing war. To sum up this slide, there are benefits for defense city residents. However, in practice, still defense city residents, like any other entities, they cannot in practice export anything from Ukraine in terms of military and dual use goods. So let's move to the second slide, and here we have kind of hints from the state on how they probably how they probably see the future export control working.
Taras, sorry to interrupt you.
Yep.
We don't see the second slide on the first one.
No,
Can you switch?
not yet.
No.
No, let me.
Yeah, now. Thank you.
Okay. So again, the laws which established defense city regime, they do not disclose the full picture of the future export control mechanism practically working. They just give us some hints on what this could be. So basically, this set of laws, they made two changes to the export control regulations. The first one, which I mentioned, it was the exclusion of this authorization by the Cabinet of Ministers. And the second one was the changes introduced to the situations when there is an international agreement supporting export of military goods. So here we see that there was a change in terms of terminology. Before that, there was a provision about interstate or intergovernmental agreements, which were changed to international agreements, moving it to like a higher level. And the second change here was that new expedited procedure for the goods permit export stage is introduced. So expedited procedure is limited to 15 days compared to the existing regular procedure, which can last, depending on the circumstances, from 45 to 90 days, which looks like a real deal here because you can imagine like spending 3 months waiting for the permit in terms of your contractual obligations and your plans compared to 15 days. These are very different stories. But the main thing here is that the provision on the simplified expedited export permit stage, it should be further detailed by the Cabinet of Ministers. So this new procedure will discover what is the actual way for the probably defense city residents to get this export permit. So in terms of the various positions which were delivered by the president, by the government in terms of export control, was that they are going to allow some limited exports. It is not clear what will be the procedure, but it is rather clear that they will start with sea drones, with naval drones. And just yesterday, before I was finalizing this presentation, I came across the new announcement, new position by the Office of President, who said that they are going to allow export based on the international agreements with several countries, to start with the Germany and with the Denmark. They are establishing like cities of cooperation, which will be Berlin and Copenhagen. And this fits very well within this defense city structure. Because for me, this sounds that the defense city residents will probably go through this simplified procedure, skipping this authorization by the Cabinet of Ministers. Then they will proceed to this expedited procedure of the final stage for permit for export of particular goods, and probably this will be allowed to first destinations, which will be Germany and Denmark. However, we will be on a clearer side of this procedure once we see this new legislation which shall be developed by the Cabinet of Ministers. So let's hope that this procedure will work, and finally our exports will be open, and this will start with the defense city residents. So that's it at my side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think you
yes.
have a question. You have just mentioned about the resolutions of the Cabinet of Ministers that should be still prepared, and also some other speakers mentioned this. So now we have a legal framework. The law is already in force about defense city, but there are still a lot of resolutions of the Cabinet of Ministers, of other ministers that should be now adopted, implemented. So what are the time frames? And just very practical questions. Just supposing you have a client who would like to become a defense city resident, would you recommend applying for this residency now, or wait till we have the full package of the laws and regulations?
Well, the laws they have a very clear answer to this question. So once the laws were adopted, the government was obliged to get back with their procedures within 1 month after the laws enter into force. So the laws entered into force on the 5th of October, which gives us the 6th of November as the deadline for the government to get back with their resolutions. Hopefully they will make it. I'm checking with the legal database every day for these changes, but they are not there yet. But anyway, if they follow the deadlines, I think this week we will see what will be the actual framework for the defense city. From the practical point of view, for those clients who are considering to enter the defense city regime, I would suggest that they start collecting documents and drafting applications right now, because any other day we can get these procedures in place, and they should be ready and keep their documents in hand, just to file them and be the first who will enjoy the benefits.
Thank you, Taras. Thank you for your presentation. And just to remind the audience, if you would like to receive the presentation and the recording of our today's session, please write to the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce, to our coordinator, Yuri Gladun, and you will get these documents. So now we are finally coming to the final report for today, final presentation of Valeria Tarasenko from the law firm Dentons. Valeria, you're welcome. Valeria's report and the presentation will just summarize and give some practical recommendations. So Valeria, please, what practical challenges or implementation issues do you already foresee in the defense laws and regulations we have been discussing today?
Lisa, thank you for passing me the floor. I have the last presentation. Just a second, let me make it to look nice and full screen. Okay. Okay. Can you see my presentation? Everything is fine?
Yes.
Super.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I have the last presentation today, and after hearing what my colleagues have said, with my presentation, I would like to have a close look of what this defense city regime means for defense industry in general and in practice. And when I, for the first time, heard about the draft of the law that our government and the parliament are planning to adopt a special regulation for defense industry, my first thought was that finally we have something strategic, not ad hoc solutions which were required to address needs within this 3.5 years of war, to supply some ammunition, to improve production of drones and etc. But something which means bigger for the for Ukrainian economy and for development of defense industry, specifically in Ukraine. Basically, these two laws, which already adopted, and we are still pending secondary legislation to be adopted soon, means that there is a solid legal ground and for investment and development and public and private partnership and cooperation in this field, which is not only targeted to address current needs of defense of Ukraine and Western countries, but also possibility to make money and to make some profits from these industries. But the main question as a lawyer, not what is written, the main question, how well that law will be implemented and how well will it work in practice. I basically sum up what my colleagues have said today, and I would like to draw some practical examples how this law will work. Yes, on the one hand, we have that tax benefits, which Victoria described us, and these tax benefits indeed give opportunity for the companies to release some resources for reinvestment in new technology, in R&D, to buying some better equipment, some materials. But on the other hand, those companies who are residents of defense city, they are locked to distribute the profit they will make in Ukraine. There are also some simplification procedures for import and export, and there's still some rooms how to structure this transaction effectively. But on the other hand, this law doesn't give general exemption for customs or VAT exemption on the equipment or materials or parts which will be imported to Ukraine by residents of defense city to produce certain equipment or ammunition. So there are still some issues which have to be considered, and they don't give a full exemption at the level of import-export. Also, residents of defense city, they are provided with a certain number of legal guarantees. The government guarantees that residence of defense city will not be disclosed to everyone, and we as lawyers will not be able publicly see where is the company is registered and what assets it's owned and etc. Plus, for security reasons, the law says that residents of defense city can have so-called sham legal address, but in effect to being located in another location. No financial statements will be disclosed. But we at the same time have the requirement that residents of defense city, they need to maintain this eligibility, so-called eligibility test, continuously. The question is what continuously means. Should it be like quarterly? Should it be on annual? Secondly, how was mentioned by my colleague Denise, that every year the resident of defense city need to file financial statements and audit reports. And here's the question: who will prepare those audit reports? Our auditors will need to receive some special permissions. How it should be arranged to keep it secretly? How financial statements will be checked or examined by the tax service of Ukraine? Will be a separate department be established within the tax service of Ukraine, or how it all will function? Also, as an advantage, on my opinion, is mixed type of businesses. We already discussed that. Residents of defense cities, they can be residents only of the defense city, and it's impossible to mix or it's restricted to mix with the DSCT regime, for example. But on the other hand, who said that there should be only one company registered in Ukraine? It can be a mix of companies, and each of the companies depends on the needs of production, can benefit from different preferential tax regimes which exist in Ukraine, and can be DSCT regime, or it can be industrial pacts for production of certain materials or parts, which also provide a number of tax benefits and basically save some financial resources. But on the same time, it triggers the issue that if we do a couple of companies in Ukraine, it should be some kind of structuring, tax planning, it should be compliant, it should be the number of agreements, which at the same time triggers additional the need for additional time, resources, and of course it's increase the cost for implementation of such project in Ukraine. What is also very important that the law says that it will be a number of currency control reliefs for companies who will be registered as defense city residents. For those who don't know, in Ukraine we have a very strict currency control regulation. It existed before the war started, and with the martial law, these restrictions are even tougher. And we hope that this liberalization from our central bank will allow companies registered as defense city residents to enjoy better in simplified currency control regulation, provide financing, repay this financing from Ukraine without having any problems with certain restrictions which are active now. And the most challenging issue, which we already all discussed, it's missing of secondary legislation. We are waiting for the number of secondary legislation to be approved by our government, by Ministry of Defense, by Ministry of Finance. Tomorrow is the deadline, but I have doubts that it will be released tomorrow or on Tuesday. So we are waiting, and the question how well everything what we have discussed today will be implemented, will be drafted, and how effectively and practically companies who are thinking to establish some businesses in Ukraine and become a defense city residents will be able easily apply those benefits which we have discussed today. And that's why there is a general idea that in general it's right. Ukraine waited for this law for a very long time. But the next steps, how these laws and how all these benefits and possibilities we have discussed today will work in practice. And there is still some tasks for all stakeholders, for policymakers to still develop and improve a legal framework which should be coherent, and it should be very practical and address the needs of the business. For businesses to show that defense production in Ukraine and defense industry can be profitable and competitive. And secondly, the third, it's for us all outside counsels that we need to show that what is written on the law can transform in a specific project, a specific company, specific manufacturing in the ground. And yes, I agree that there will be a lot of legal issues, a lot of tax issues, but still there is legal instruments how to address all these gaps which are still existing in Ukrainian legislation, and it's also our task as lawyers and different business associations to communicate with the state what should be improved and how to make this general idea of defense city regime really workable and practical solution for the business. Thank you.
Thank you, Valeria. I think you have almost answered my second question, but anyway, it will be very similar to the question I asked Taras. What is your practical recommendation? Are there any ways to address these issues without waiting for the secondary legislation to be adopted? Because, well, knowing practical landscapes in Ukraine, sometimes we wait for them for 1 day or 1 month or several months. But what would be your recommendation to the clients who would like to consider this legal regime?
Yes, actually, I was very carefully listening to my colleagues in previous presentation, and I already see some practical solutions. For example, your question addressed to Denise about if there is a master contract, for example, with a German parent company, and this German parent company would like to have some subsidiary which will do some manufacturing here on the ground in Ukraine. How can be done? It's still possible. We have legal instruments who said that subcontract is impossible. It's possible to implement subcontract and assign production of whole or partial or specifics, depends on the needs of the project. For example, it was in my presentation, nowadays, like heavy ammunition or metal ammunition, it's not enough. Now every piece of defense production include a significant part of intellectual property of IT solution, software solution. Who said that investor cannot establish 2-3 companies in Ukraine? One company will be focused on development of some software solution or IT solution. Another company will focus on production of hardware, and they will cooperate to make a final product which will work effectively. But both of these companies will work under different regimes in Ukraine. One is defense city, another is TS city. Or for example, we also have the number of another regimes which also provide certain benefits. It's industrial parks, and most of them now located in the western Ukraine, close to the western countries. And at the industrial parks can be located some production of certain parts of or small materials which are required for construction of larger, more significant ammunition of the main enterprise. So there's still a lot of possibilities in Ukraine, legal and a law which already exists, which can be used to operate defense industry effectively, even while we are waiting for adoption of the secondary legislation.
Thank you, Valeria. I would like to thank all our speakers today that you made this possible on such short notice. I think this is a great achievement for us as a team. I see one question in the chat. I will read it now. And so this is probably addressed to all speakers, but please answer who is ready to answer. Is it expected that defense city residents will be made a separate criterion for a critical status obtaining, similar to DS city residents to reserve employees? So the question is related to the military duty to reservation of the employees of defense city residents. Is there anything in the law? Who would be ready to answer?
Yeah, let's say if there is no other volunteers, I can comment. So technically, the laws, and that's the main problem, do not establish as of now any benefits in terms of reservations of the employee, and that's one of the main issues for the defense industry.
Sorry to interrupt you, Valeria. Could you please stop sharing the screen?
Oh, yes,
Thank you.
surely. Sorry.
Sorry, Denise. Continue.
Yeah, no problem. That's in this regard. So the DSCT regime is a little bit preferential in terms of benefits because the reservation of employees is much more clear. And plus, as Victoria emphasized during her speech, that the city regime also provides for the tax benefits of the salaries, which the defense city does not provide for. So, answering your question, Alessia, no special rules as of now in terms of reservation. So, the company will need to pass the standard procedure of receiving the economically important enterprise status for the reservation and filing the relevant applications for reservations through the relevant electronic systems. But as Valeria said during her speech, so the technically can be established two companies, and one of them can be a DSCT, which will, for instance, reserve employees under the simplified procedure. And for instance, these employees can be technically and in theory be the employees of the defense city company as well. So there are still a number of opportunities how this relationship can be structured, and I think there we can provide the solutions how the reservation issue can be mitigated.
Thank you, Denise. If there are any other questions, you're welcome. Just again, stressing that to become a resident, the company will need to be present in Ukraine. And of course, to be present in Ukraine, you will also have to find a reliable consultant, be it financial or legal consultant. This is also very important. And of course, the German-Ukrainian Chamber of Commerce and Industry is always ready to support you. So I would like to encourage everybody who's still not a member of the German-Ukrainian Chamber, join us. And if you are a legal expert, please also join our regular meetings. As I have mentioned at the very beginning, we meet every month. So we have legal experts among our members who are either the in-house lawyers or the lawyers of the law firms, and we regularly meet to discuss current legal problems and also practical solutions. So you are welcome to join us. And now I see another question in the chat. Is there any special protection against air attacks for defense companies since production significantly increases the risk? So I know that this is a rather sensitive question, so nobody is talking about this openly for security reasons. But if the speakers are ready to comment, you're welcome.
Let me probably start. What we have in terms of like passive protection, we have these laws. They introduced kind of limited access to information, allowing to identify a location of the production facilities. On a related note, there is a newly introduced legislation. I think it was introduced like in May 2025 or around these dates, which allows for everyone, not only for defense city residents, but for any business to cooperate with local defense forces and have kind of private air defense system. So you can legally arrange for some anti-air missiles systems located near your production facility or any other important location of your business to protect particularly your territory from air attacks. So that could be a solution here.
Can I add here, like based on experience, we already have that some companies considering to make underground production. So it's also a solution which is working. Yes, it's more costly. It's time consuming, but if you are speaking about physical protection, it's one of the best options which are now working.
Thank you, Valeria. And obviously, as far as this is a very sensitive question, nobody will be discussing openly the address of the underground capacities on manufacturing sites for obvious reasons. So therefore, it is indeed necessary to have the presence in Ukraine and discuss all the security issues also in Ukraine. So I would encourage those who have strong links to Ukraine, interest to manufacture in Ukraine, to visit Ukraine, also to contact the chamber. The chamber is also organizing regular visits, regular delegations of German economy, defense, and energy companies, for example, to Ukraine. So in this way, you could also see with your own eyes what is happening and what security measures can be taken. Are there any other comments? Please, colleagues, you're welcome. If not, then I would like to finalize our webinar. I would like to encourage all of you again, please let's stay connected. If there are any other comments, questions, or our participants would like to receive the presentations, please write to Yuri Gladun, the coordinator of the legal committee, and we will be glad to see you at our meetings. So I would like to wish all of you a safe day. Let's stay connected, and Slava Ukraini.
Heroes fall.
Heroям слава.
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
being
much
here today.
Thank you.
to our
Bye.
speakers and the participants. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.